Hello, everyone. Welcome and thank you for joining us for our webinar today. In case you missed it at the top of the chat, please take a moment to introduce yourselves. Let us know your name, please, your organization, agency, or district, and also geographically where you are joining us from today. It's really wonderful to see the diverse representation that we have on today's webinar. So many folks joining us from across the country and from all different entities. So thank you. It's really exciting to have you all with us today. With that, let's go ahead and begin. Hello, my name is Kelly, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to this webinar on behalf of the No Kid Hungry team. This webinar is part of our Summer 2026 Summer Meals webinar series. This webinar is titled High Impact Meals, Innovative Logistics for Consistent Summer Food Access. It will explore innovative and effective strategies that sponsors are employing to meet the demand for summer meals. In this webinar, you'll learn about practical menu solutions such as incorporating shelf-stable foods, using DoD fresh produce, and other resourceful approaches to ensure consistent access to nutritious meals for children over the summer. Next slide, please. There are some helpful things for you to know before we begin. The always ever popular question, you will receive the slide deck and the recording of this webinar via email. You should expect that in your inbox by the end of this week. So if you are here right now, joining us live, that means you are a registrant and that means you will be on the distribution list to receive that email. Additionally, during our time together on this webinar, to engage with other attendees, please use the chat box. If you have questions for the speakers, please drop those into the Q&A box. You can find the Q&A box on the bottom of your screen. There's going to be a time at the end of the webinar where we will have an opportunity for audience questions. However, you don't have to wait until the end to submit those questions. So as the webinar is happening, if a question comes to mind for any of our speakers, go ahead, enter that into that Q&A box, and we will get to those when it's time. And lastly, at the bottom of your screen as well, you should have the option to turn on closed captioning for the webinar. Next slide, please. As for our agenda today, I am going to start by introducing you to two of my No Kid Hungry teammates. Then we'll hear from two guest speakers, and we will close with audience Q&A. Next slide, please. It's now my pleasure to introduce my No Kid Hungry teammates, Anastasia and Tiffany, who will move us on to the next portion of the webinar. Anastasia manages No Kid Hungry campaigns in Georgia, Colorado, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. Her work centers on expanding summer meals access to children in rural areas through grant opportunities, critical partnerships, and program education. Tiffany is the senior manager for the No Kid Hungry campaign in Louisiana and provides technical assistance to partners in the school breakfast program and rural non-congregate summer sponsors through partner collaboration, site visits, and grant funding. With that, it's now my pleasure to turn it over to my teammates.
Hi, everyone. It's so great to be here all together today and providing this webinar on such a fun topic of menu planning. I just wanted to provide a little bit of context quickly around sort of the genesis of this webinar. So we had Shanae and Michaela, who I'll introduce in just a moment, present on a panel at our Summer Nutrition Summit in DC back in January. They were two of the four presenters for our From Purchase to Plate Creative Menu Solutions from the Island to the Mainland session. And we just received such wonderful feedback that we thought, let's bring them back and do a little bit of a deeper dive into their menu planning tips so y'all can learn from them. So that being said, we split out our webinars into two. So last week we hosted a webinar with Allie and Avery, and today we have Shanae and Michaela. And these are two fabulous food nutrition directors. So Shanae Rao is a registered dietitian nutritionist for Warwick County School Corporation in Indiana, and Michaela Mitchell is a food service director at Union County School District in South Carolina. Next slide, please. So I will go ahead and pass it off to Shanae first. Just a quick introduction on her. Shanae has served as the Food and Nutrition Director for Warwick County School Corporation of Indiana for 23 years. She's a proud Purdue University graduate and holds a degree in dietetics and nutrition, fitness, and health. Shanae is an active leader in the School Nutrition Association, serving on the Leadership Development Committee as chair of the Political Action Committee and as co-chair of the Indiana SNA Public Policy Committee. Her innovative approach to school nutrition has led to remarkable results. Since introducing non-congregate sun meals in 2024, she has increased summer feeding participation by nearly 6,000%. And through high quality sun meals to go, she continues to highlight the fresh, wholesome ingredients that define her district's commitment to providing nutritious, delicious meals for every student. So I am so excited to hand it off to Shanae.
All right. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, and thank you so much for tuning in today. And thank you especially to No Kid Hungry, such strong supporters of the Summer Meals to Go program and just feeding kids overall. So I appreciate this opportunity. We are a fairly low free and reduced district. So I was kind of curious how this Meals to Go program would work and how accepted it would be in our district. But what we've realized is we have a lot of rural pockets throughout our district that grab some of those lower free and reduced students. So the first thing I did was ask a survey to parents, like, is this something you would be interested in? And immediately I got like over 4,000 responses. So we realized, oh my gosh, this is something that people really want to do. So as she said, I've been the director for 23 years, and this has been probably the most rewarding, and it's made my job very well worth it. I feel like we've really served a great purpose and helped our community. Next slide, please. So just a little bit about background about us. I'm located in Southwest Indiana, right on the Ohio River border. We have a little over 10,000 students enrolled in 16 food sites. We have 3 rural non-congregate sites. We have 1 congregate site, and then we are about 36% free and reduced. We operate a curbside distribution that has 1 distribution per week. This year, we will be changing it to 2 distributions per week just to help accommodate the large sizes that we have. And that includes 5 breakfast and 5 lunch. In Indiana, and a lot of times you really need to check with your state people to make sure that what you're doing is able to be done in your state. But in Indiana, they do not allow us to serve more than 5 breakfast or 5 lunch per meal kit if we are providing any type of bulk product. So when I say that, I mean, like if we do a gallon of milk instead of cartons of milk, that's considered bulk. So they limit us to 5 breakfast and 5 lunches. This year we were able to do 20,000, or last summer we were able to do about 20,000 meals a week out of our 3 sites, totaling a little over 160,000 meals. We had about 50 staff that worked 3 days a week. So it was a win-win for our community, a win-win for our program to be able to stay, self-supporting during this time, and then to allow some of our staff that normally wouldn't be able to work in the summer to be able to have those summer pay. It was really, really helpful to them. So just an amazing opportunity to help everyone around. Our biggest challenges that we had are really storage space. Because our 3 sites are so different, one of our sites that we have, a non-congregate, only has about 50 students that attend that school. So as you can imagine, we have a really small storage space for that school. The other site only has about 200 students. So it really kind of limited on what we could do. And then the last site has more students, but we still had limited storage. So we would have to bring over milk coolers from all of our other district schools and put them there to store all the milk. So I'll kind of talk about a remedy that we had for that this coming year. And then success was just early planning. Like if you haven't started planning, or if you're still kind of wobbling, teetering about whether or not you want to do this, really recommend you start now. Reach out. There's so many directors that have done this. So many resources. No Kid Hungry has a ton of resources that we can all kind of help you get on path to have a successful program. Next slide, please. So a couple of things for me is some helpful menu planning tips. You really have to be strategic how you plan this. Consider the storage space that you have on site, but also what you're sending home to parents. So if you make everything a freezer item, and if it's a family that has 4 kids, it's going to be hard for them to store all that food in the freezer. So we really try to divide things out between a shelf. Well, as you can see on the picture on the right, freezer. Then we have refrigerated and shelf stable, and we really try to balance it out for production purposes and storage purposes and to make it better for the families at home. We also do incorporate a good mix of pre-made and speed scratch items. So just trying to make it creative and give the best quality of food to meet the needs of our consumers the best we can. And then spread out work to additional locations if you need to. At our larger site that we serve about 20,000 meals out a week, the cold food prep happens at a different location, and then they transport that over during the meal distribution. So it allowed the staff to not be so cramped in one location, kind of spread out the staff, spread out the storage, and it just worked really well for us to do that. And then trying to distribute the workload equally each week, like balancing out what you have each week of the menu. And then also, sorry, there we go. And then also just for staffing purposes. So some weeks aren't exhausting and maybe staff doesn't want to maybe work as much that week. We want to kind of balance it out so it's all equal. Next slide. Oh, on this slide, you'll see where for helpful menu tips, how we have it broken down. This is a spreadsheet that we give all of our employees who are doing this program and who are preparing the food. So one school is doing the freezer thank you bags. So you'll see that we have color-coded thank you bags, the freezers in blue, refrigerators in red, and shelf stables in green, just to make sure that whenever we're handing them out, they're getting the proper bags because it's so busy, as you guys all know. On this sheet, it kind of tells them, my staff, what containers to put things in. So we have a 2-compartment black container that has a small serving compartment and a larger serving compartment. We have just one compartment container, and then the IW is the individually wrapped. So it helps being able to identify what is going to go in what. So if you look at our chicken on the beach that we do with corn, you'll notice that the chicken on the beach goes in the large section of the 2-compartment container, and the corn goes in the small section. So it just gives them a guidance on how they're supposed to store it. And we did that for all the different items going down the list. Next slide, please. So some helpful menu tips is showcase your popular items. Ever since the pandemic happened, we really haven't had parents able to come into our schools to eat. That's kind of gone away, and I don't know if they've really brought it back yet, but this is a great time to show your families what you're serving the students every day. And so we try to pick some of the speed scratch items that we do that have more fresh items that the kids really like. Surveying your participants, making sure that you're providing the food that they want to eat and that they will eat. One of the downfalls is if you're providing food that they don't like, it's kind of a waste for everyone. We want to feed those bellies and give them stuff that they're going to like, but we also want to give them high quality, fresh foods as much as possible. And serve items you're proud of. This is, again, stuff that's going home. The parents are going to see for the first time, maybe ever, what food in your school looks like. I try to say not school food because it's not school food. It's just food that's cooked in a school. So being proud of what you serve. And you can see the pictures at the bottom, the kids that are just so excited and happy to have what we have there. On our menu, this will all be on the slide so you can look at it, but this kind of just shows the disbursement of how we do our menu. So next slide, please. So a couple of helpful produce tips. We really want to still provide education to our students. So we've been able to partner with a company called D&O Produce. They're in Indiana. I'm not for sure if there are other places or not, but they're great because they provide the educational information that you see on the screen, and all the servings are in 1/2 cup servings. So if the kids might get to try a 1/2 cup of mango, a 1/2 cup of watermelon radishes or jicama sticks, or it could be berries and strawberries, all this different food that they offer. It is a little bit higher cost because it's pre-cut. It does save you on labor, but the way that they do it, they cut it so fresh. So they pretty much cut it and then it ends at your kitchen door like a day or two later. So it's very, very fresh. So it has a good shelf life on it. And it's been really fun for the kids to get to try different things. And I've had parents email like, what are these green and pink things? And it's the watermelon radish. They didn't open up the, the context in the email to see that, but it was neat to see that they were interested in trying those foods. If you're going to do some higher expense products, obviously you want to try to balance it out with some lower cost items, just in case there's a financial, just to kind of be mindful of those financial dollars that we get. Working with local farmers, and you know, a lot of times, well, at least in Indiana, our main season for grow time is in the summertime. So we miss out on a lot of that local produce that we can get. So we try to work with local farmers for fresh peaches and the apples and cucumbers, things like that, that they might be able to grow during our summer feeding program. And then minimize how many items you have to individually bag on site. So in the past, we would like 2 summers ago, we were bagging individual French toast sticks, and then we realized we were paying people hours and hours to bag individual French toast sticks. We were able to find them in a pre-bag with 3 sticks in it, and that just worked so much better and kind of helped avoid burnout and carpal tunnel from the bagging machine. So if you can find those things, try to utilize those if you can. And another thing is utilizing the Department of Defense produce. If you haven't signed up for that or haven't done it before, I highly recommend you look into that for next year. I think the deadline's already happened this year, but the Department of Defense produce is just, it's amazing. And it's just used as part of your entitlement money. So we were able to really keep some of our costs down for our meals because of that, utilizing those entitlement dollars, which has been a huge help for us too. Next slide. Again, trying to feedback on like being an educational institution and teaching kids where food comes from and what fresh food is. We have Indiana Grown for Schools, and so we signed up to receive seedlings of basil. So we were able to pass those out in the bags one day with some instructions on how to grow those and different recipes of what they could use. So kind of think about maybe partnering with a local community, or maybe your state has any type of like promotional materials like for seeds to be able to allow for kids to do that and just kind of have fun with it. Next slide, please. And making distribution fun, easy, and memorable. You know, I was really worried because it is so much, it's just a totally different pace of work than what it is during the school year. And I was worried after the first year that staff would be burned out. They may not want to do it, but you know, they absolutely loved it. It's a great time for different schools to come together and get to know each other and just make it fun, not just for your staff, but for the people coming through the lines. You know, when people wait in a long line, they can get anxious, they can get frustrated for the long line. So, you know, we really tried to make it fun, let them know we're having fun, realizing that we really, really want to, you know, have this a successful program and make it as streamlined as possible for you. So we would even make special, like there's me in the bottom left corner giving dogs treats. So when the dogs came through, we thought, well, they need to have a treat too. So they would love bringing their dogs in so they could get a dog treat and just having fun. We try to simplify things by, on the bottom right, you'll see that green sign. It's an 8.5 by 11 sign that when they come through the pickup line, if they are 6 meals, or if it's 6 students, we put 6 meal kits, 3 gallons, and 12 half pints, which I'll explain in a second. But it's a laminated sheet that we just stick in their windshield so that it's easy when they're pulling around the corner for our distribution people to load up their car, they can easily see what they need to put in the car. Another idea is kind of like whenever, if you had kids in kindergarten, at least I know like preschool and kindergarten, they would ask us to hang the student's name in the rear view mirror so that they could see who's coming to that car. So we asked families to write their name of the pickup person that signed up in large letters so we can easily see them when they come through the line, because sometimes you can't hear them because the engine's running, or you can't understand them or know how to spell it. So it has been helpful to kind of speed up the lines in that sense. Next slide, please. Distribution tips, you have to communicate, especially if you have changes in your program from year to year. We had a road closed one year, so we had to relocate the way that the families were coming in. On the far left, it's our menu instructions. So we really tried to plan the menu so that if it's a frozen item, you can microwave it from a frozen state and the quality is just as good. We were doing like a tangerine chicken, and we found out recently that the students, it kind of got soggy. It didn't reheat well. So we've taken that off the menu to replace with something else. So again, having a survey of students, making sure you're giving high quality food that they're going to eat is of key. So we had all of our meal prep instructions. If we have fresh produce, we don't wash it. We just let them know that it needs to be washed when they get it at home before they consume it. If it's going to be something that needs to go in the oven, we ask that a parent be there to assist the students, or we also provide some air fryer recipe or instructions to help them out. So that's a document that we have on a QR code. We have it on all of our sign up forms, and we keep on our website for them. The middle one is the black containers that we get. We get them from Webstaurant or Amazon. I can't remember which one it is, but they are great for freezer, for refrigerator, and to microwave in. And we came up with an idea to recycle these during the pandemic because we were having such a difficult time actually getting all the paper goods that we needed. So we asked families, and some families were having like stacks and stacks of these containers and they didn't need them all. So if they were gently used, we would have them bring them back. We would wash, rinse, sanitize them through the dish machine, and then we were able to reuse those if they didn't have any, if they were gently used and you couldn't really tell. And then also, like I mentioned, for the distribution station, just really explaining to people how to do it. If you have a lot of cars coming through, it can be kind of unsafe sometimes. So just making sure that everyone is aware of safety and looking around and just giving those distribution ideas can be helpful. Next slide, please. Another thing is marketing your program. What we found is obviously after the pandemic, people really realized how essential our school meal programs are to the health and well-being of our students in our community. So we saw our meal counts go up after the pandemic, and plus we did have free meals at the time because of the waivers. But what we saw now that we don't have free meals in our district anymore, the summer feeding program is another great way to market your program and to get parents to kind of buy into the great things that you're doing. So when I talk about having, providing high quality food, stuff that the students will eat, it just kind of will end up feeding into that year's program also. So we've seen an increase in meal counts throughout the school year, and I really feel like that is due to us marketing our summer feeding program and people learning more about what we do. One thing fun that we did when it came to marketing is we asked families to take pictures of their students enjoying our meals. And we had like an Amazon gift card we had gotten through like one of those reward programs. And basically I was using those photos. I wanted their approval to use those photos for legislator meetings, to share with our school board, and to share with our community about the great work that we're doing. So I do have a link on the next page for a video I put together that shows the kids enjoying the food and our staff preparing the food that you can kind of watch afterwards if you'd like to. We talked about utilizing local produce. So we, promoted our peaches that we used. I do just want to talk about peaches or any kind of soft skin product, even bananas. And when you put them in a bag, they can definitely mush and become challenging to have in there. So this year we went to the petite bananas that are more firm so they don't get as mushy, and that really helped out. But just kind of be aware of how you're doing those fresh, vulnerable type of produce. And then we always send a lot of reminders. It is not uncommon for us to have people that do not show up to get meals and they might forget. So we always try to send marketing to make sure that they are reminded that meal pickup is today. So next slide, please. So speaking of growing your nutrition fund balance, this is just an example of our revenue and expenses for this program. What you see on the far right, and I mentioned the DoD produce, but where it says meal kit expenses versus revenue, I have like our week one, our meal kit expenses, $12.43 just for the food. If we use the DoD produce, it brought it down to $10.72. So you can kind of see the difference in revenue per meal kit. And in turn, if you can manage that wisely and make sure that you're aware of your costs and expenses, you're able to end up bringing in some additional revenue that you can in turn put back into your program. So one thing you'll see down at the bottom, we were able to bring in about $383,000 for our program. So we bought this year, we bought a mobile refrigerated trailer. We had an issue with storing milk, so we were able to purchase a mobile trailer that can actually move from site to site if we need to. So that trailer is going to be set up at one of our sites that does all the cooler production, and then the milk is going to get delivered to that trailer too, and then we'll bring it over to our distribution site. Another great thing is we were able to afford that D&O produce that were individually half cup servings. So it's really about we're purchasing new signs to put out by the roadway to kind of direct traffic a little bit better. Purchasing some orange cones to help direct traffic. So there's a lot of things that you can really do. But most importantly, we're talking about creative menus. Really put that money back into the quality of food that you serve. If you're doing breaded chicken items, put that money back into whole muscle chicken items and not chopped and formed or processed as little as possible, just to continue to promote the healthy foods that we offer. Next slide. So tips for a successful program, as I mentioned earlier, is definitely early planning organization. You have to kind of be starting all this right now so you know what to do. Serve high quality food. Diversify your menu items. When I say like bringing shelf stable to refrigerated to cooler, just diversify that, but also offer a variety of menu items. Know your food and labor costs. You have to be aware of what you're spending so you're not overdoing it, losing money, that sort of thing. You want to be able to try to break even. Consider fresh and shelf stable milk. We do a combination of both fresh and shelf stable, just for storage purposes for families. So we don't want them to have 6 gallons of milk in their refrigerator. So we offer shelf stable chocolate milk just for something different that they can have whenever they need to. Utilize your DoD fresh if you can. Boost social media. Have detailed communication, make meal pickup memorable, and share your success stories. So again, you'll see on this slide, there's a thank you video at the top. Whenever they send out the materials afterwards, there'll be a link so you can kind of click on that. It's something that we shared with our school board and we sent out to our community so they could look for their kids' pictures, but also see the great work that we're doing. So I think that's all I have. So thank you guys so much. And I know you're going to learn a ton from Michaela. So she's amazing. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Shanae, for such great information. Our next presenter, Michaela Mitchell, has been a registered dietitian for over 28 years and began her career in school food service while getting her graduate degree in human nutrition from Winthrop University in Rock Hill, South Carolina. Michaela is in her 3rd year as the food service director at Union County School District and has led the district through the implementation of home delivery and grocery pickup models that are treasured by the Union County community. She is an expert in summer meals, having won the No Kid Hungry Summer Hunger Hero Award in 2025, and will share her insight on various rural non-congregate summer meal models, including the benefits and drawbacks of operating the Seamless Summer Option and Summer Food Service Program. And with that, I'd like to pass it over to Michaela.
Thank you, Tiffany, and thank you, Shanae. Appreciate the shout out. And I'm super, super honored to be here with y'all and share, just what has worked for us here in Union County. Let's go ahead and go to that next slide, please. Okay, and we can just go right on to the next one. Thank you. Okay, y'all. This is Shannon, and Shannon actually does not work for food service. Shannon drives a bus for Union County School District, and Shannon worked with our team over summer 2025. And I hope that you all can see his shirt, but it has our district's yellow jacket. That's our high school mascot right in the middle of the shirt. And his shirt says, "Feed the kids." Shannon went out and had this shirt made just totally on his own. And he showed up to our required training, the summer meals training that we have to have. He showed up wearing it, and Shannon just gets it. He knows that we're going to feed these kids, whether they're in school or out. And so with that, let me tell you a little bit about our journey with summer meals in Union County. Okay, next slide. All right, so context is everything. So let me tell you a little bit about our county. We have just over 3,500 students enrolled, and a total of 6 schools. We are 100% CEP. We're 100% rural, 100% area eligible. Now, before 2024, we had never operated a summer meals program. So 2024 was our first year. And we actually started off with a home delivery program. We enrolled 1,800 kids into our program, and we spent 5 weeks dropping boxes on their porch every week. We, you know, came up with our own product mix. We set up a little temporary warehouse in our high school dining room. We had a packing team in there, and so they packed the boxes, taped them, and then we loaded them on district vehicles and took them out. And it was, man, that was fun. It was a lot of work. It was a great time, and the community just absolutely loved it, went nuts for the program. And we were really proud of our result there, 92,628 meals. But as awesome as 2024 was for us, we had a huge problem. And the problem was we had to turn folks away. And I know all of you on this call, you're here because you want to feed people. And so that's just not a good feeling when you know that there are kids out there, that their families need us to serve them. And we just knew we had to find a way to grow our capacity. So, thank goodness for No Kid Hungry. I was able to come to a summer meals summit and just listen to all of these people from around the country share ideas. And anything y'all hear, you should just take it, drive it like you stole it, and see if you can find a way to make it work in your community. But I was able to get some great ideas and then really kind of, cobble everything together. And so we made some really thoughtful changes to our operations for last summer for 2025. And look at that. Look at that result. I set a goal. I wanted us to do 185,000 meals, but you can see we way exceeded that. And the way we did that, we went up. The previous summer, we had done 5-day packages. So in 2025, we did 7-day packages. And then we also gave families a choice. So they could stick with home delivery or they could opt into our new kid on the block, which was groceries to go. Okay, next slide. Okay, so lack of transportation here, where the county that I serve in Union County, it's a huge issue. We have about 11% of our households here that do not have access to reliable transportation. So as long as I'm here and the state approves it, we will have a home delivery option. And home delivery is open to households that have at least one student that's enrolled in our school district. And the reason we do that is because we run our home delivery enrollment through PowerSchool, which is our student information system. And that helps take a little bit of the load off because we know that those addresses are verified. And then we'll serve any children at that address. It's just that you've got to have one at least that's in our school district. So this home delivery team, and you see my fabulous ladies there on the left, Miss Pat and Alexa. They drive a bus throughout the school year, normally for the school district, but over summer they love taking meals to our kids. And they deliver meals Monday through Wednesday, and that was an all shelf stable option. We actually used a done for you kit last year. We went with the Optimum Foods. Now, groceries to go, that was the new kid on the block. And that's open to any children in our community. They don't have to be enrolled in Union County School District as long as they're 18 and under and not receiving meals from another source, then they're eligible for groceries to go. And this really let us leverage our school's cold storage and our pantries so that we could pack 7 days worth of fresh produce, frozen, and pantry items into meal packs for our kiddos. Okay, next slide. All right. So, I mentioned procurement. Nobody wants to talk about procurement, but it's really important, right? Because we have to be able to do this to stay compliant with, all of our regulations that we need. So it is important to take time and look at that. So as far as our home delivery Optimum shelf stable kits, we're part of a purchasing co-op, and it was no problem. Our co-op added these to their bid document, and so we were able to use that as the mechanism to be able to purchase these kits. Now, and just an operational note, the way we ran that, I actually set up a temporary warehouse. We have a career and technology center here that's part of our school district, and we have an automotive automotive technology class, and that teacher was really kind. So there's a huge bay door, lots of just open space. And so it was kind of perfect for us. So we would have Optimum Foods, drop truckload, 26 pallets of these shelf-stable meals off at our temporary warehouse. And that's where our drivers would come every day and they would pick up their route sheets and, get their boxes loaded for the routes and, hit the road. Now, for groceries, we had a little bit different process. We did what's called a competitive fixed price bid. I'll tell you a little bit more about that in the next section, but I mean, it was awesome. We ended up getting a really great discount. And the grocery store, I mean, they were just an amazing partner. So let's go on to the next slide. Okay, so I told you we used our co-op purchasing to be able to do the shelf-stable boxes for groceries. So how does this competitive fixed price bid work? Basically, we have 4 stores here in the county that we could possibly have used for our groceries for this program. And I went and personally visited each store and told them what we were doing. I actually took my big Buzzworthy Eats delivery truck so they would kind of know who I was because everybody knew the truck from the previous summer. And I talked with people at the store and made sure that they would come to our mandatory pre-bid meeting. And we were able to go over everything in detail. So the competitive fixed price bid, the point of it, I mean, yes, you are trying to make the best use of your resources. Of course, you want to try and get the best price. But the point of the competitive fixed price bid is really to give you, the person who's operating the program, the most flexibility, the most options for you to be able to source product. So, price isn't necessarily the main consideration on this. You're just basically you're needing to get a permission slip in place that lets you do business with these folks. So the way we structured ours, we let them know like, hey, we have certain categories of items that we're going to want to purchase from you. What percent off retail are you willing to commit to off of these various categories? So we had a minimum percent off retail that we were asking for. As long as they responded to the bid and they met our criteria for the percent off that we were asking, then I had a permission slip to do business with them. Which is great. Options are great because, things happen and you might need to work with different stores in town. We did end up working with, we had 2 stores out of the 4 that I visited. We had 2 stores that responded to the bid, and that was our Save a Lot, which is a chain some of y'all might be familiar with. And then the Fresh Air Galaxy. You don't have one where you are because there's only one, and it's right here in Union. And they were just amazing for us. So my advice to you, if you do take our document and try to work on this type of bid, ask for a bigger discount than we did. Save a Lot like met our criteria but didn't give us anything extra beyond what we asked for. The Fresh Air Galaxy, they gave us 15% off of anything that we bought in the store that summer. So that was pretty awesome. More than we asked for. And again, they were just really, really good to work with. Okay. Let's go to the next slide. All right, so this is just a little breakdown so you can kind of see an example of what our grocery menu looked like. Remember, this is a 7-day food package, so that gallon milk is, meets that with just a little bit extra. On this particular week, half gallon of juice. You see some different snack items in there. Your Pop-Tarts were the breakfast grain. And then what we did for our entree was these pre-cooked, the flame grilled beef patties from Ballpark. And this, we got rave reviews on this menu. Families absolutely loved it, and the feedback I got from moms was, man, this is fantastic. I can go off to work and I know that my child can just take one of those beef patties, put it in the microwave, heat it up. They've got it for lunch, just perfect for them. Um, we did end up using some of our DoD fresh produce. So I think this week, even though I have bananas pictured, I'm pretty sure I was able to send them. It was either a pint of blueberries or strawberries. So our families just really responded well to this. I think what we would call it in food service terms is a bulk menu. I would never call it that for marketing purposes. We called it groceries because everybody's grocery bill is just way too high. And you already know when the kids are coming home from summer, they're going to eat you out of house of home. So let us help you with your groceries. That's kind of how I pitch this in our community. Um, you can see the breakdown of our volume here. Out of all the meals that we served, 73% of them were served through the Groceries to Go program. And then only 26% was home delivery. And then we had a little bit of athletic camps and different things, very small at 1%. So the vast majority was groceries. And I expect it to be even more lopsided this summer. And those families would use, we have a I don't know if you call it a partnership. We use a service called Ticket Tailor, like you have your clothes tailored, Ticket Tailor. We use that as our ticketing platform. So they can go on there and they reserve a ticket and then it emails them their QR code. And then that's what they show to our team when they come through our line. Okay, next slide. Okay, and this is kind of how we ran our check-ins. I mean, nothing earth-shattering or revolutionary here. How our pickup sites, they would come in and scan their ticket and kind of go through that station. That's where we would hand them their menu. And then on that menu for the week, we would also have the QR code to reserve next week's tickets. I did require families to reserve tickets each week because, folks go out of town. Um, Maybe the kids are at Camp Grandma, 2 counties over one week. And so we don't need groceries for them that week. So I did have them reserve those tickets each and every week that they plan to pick up with us. And each car would just kind of flow through these different stations. We operated at 4 of our 6 schools, and we operated 3 days a week. Monday evening was by far our busiest time. I mean, we did just a ton of volume on Monday nights. And that first week, I mean, you're always like learning. One of my biggest fears in starting a program like this was like, how do you forecast? How do you know how much you need? I'm so afraid somebody's going to pull up to one of my sites. And what if we're out of food? Like, I just, I didn't want to have that problem. So, actually, or the other side of that is, what if I buy all this food and they don't come and pick it up? What then? So we had to kind of work through those challenges. The way we addressed that, actually, the first week we had over 200 no-shows. And so on week 2, because, that food was still fine and we could still place it, on week 2, I offered extra tickets beyond the sets of groceries that I had because I was like, okay, we're going to have to do this airline style and overbook a little bit to account for the no-show factor. We did get better at our reminders and our messaging on all of that. But we were able to place all of that food. And as we kind of went into the program, we realized what we could do is start our wait list Wednesdays. So every week our tickets would sell out. We would have no more tickets available. But then, by the end of Tuesday afternoon, we would kind of know by our volume, like, are we going to make it or not make it? And so we started having a wait list Wednesday, meaning that if you reserved a ticket and you had not picked up your food by Tuesday afternoon, we were going to release your food on Wednesday, right, to folks who did not have a ticket but are on our wait list. And so that just kind of let everybody know, what was up. And that allowed us to not have any food waste for the summer, which is huge, for your cost. So really loved that. There was something else in my mind that I wanted to tell you, but it has left me. So maybe I'll think of it in a minute. Okay. Next slide, please. Okay. So as far as, how did all of this go for us? When you break down the numbers that we were able to serve over summer, it equates to us feeding 68% of our enrollment, breakfast and lunch, 7 days a week over the summer. I mean, that's just huge. I mean, I just was blown away by how our community responded and supported this program and came out. And we really did work hard to make sure that there is zero stigma attached with our program. I always go and present to our school board, and that's like live cast, but then we can use that the video clips from that. And I explain this a lot, like in our administrative meetings, and I'll have uh, personal conferences even with administrators in our district. And you have to really fight against that notion. A lot of people say, well, I don't want to sign up for this. I don't want to take it away from somebody who really needs it. And we really try to help everybody understand this is for the community. This is for everybody. Everybody deserves a break from these high grocery prices because um, volume is the key to making this work and making it sustainable and helping you to do even more good in your community. This is a case of more is more. And so when my administrators, even though, you know, I mean, obviously everybody knows maybe they're a principal or they run a department in our school district. When they come through my grocery pickup line, it makes it okay for everybody else to come through my grocery pickup line. And I think that that's really helped us have this really high support from our community. We brought in 880,000 in total revenue. Our first summer, our food costs, we spent like 70 to 75% of the revenue on food. So to get that down to 50%, making that change to groceries really helped versus having those specialty shelf stable products. And labor is where, like, the way we do it, I think that's what really kind of creates the margin because we're basically taking something that's already packed for retail, it's already labeled for retail, and we are just putting that together in kits for the kids. It really lets us save on labor. And I know that's a huge issue for a lot of people of wondering where you're going to find people. So um, the ones that want to work, they can come out and earn a paycheck with us. But the truth is that we don't need our entire team to make this happen. I'm really proud that we were able to spend $136,000 with a mom and pop grocery store. You know, that's an extra layer of good that we were able to do, by sourcing our products locally this way. And then, of course, you see there the figure that we spent on salary and benefits. And actually, 35 is the number of folks that work for us throughout the school year, but only about half of my regular food service team comes out and works. The rest is bus drivers, school secretaries, classroom assistants, people that just come out for a temporary summer job and then guess what? They want to, come work with us in the fall. So all of that worked out great for us. And I can't thank No Kid Hungry enough for the 2025 that Summer Hunger Hero Award. I didn't know. I thought they had one, in each state. And I thought, oh, that's so nice. I get one for South Carolina. And then later all the materials come out and I found out there were only 11. So my love language is words of affirmation. So I really felt the love. Do you know what I mean? It was great. And our team felt the love. And it's just been a wonderful, wonderful journey. So I guess, to sum it up, like, this is hard work. It does take a lot of planning and a lot of creativity and adapting and overcoming, but it is so worth it. And, just keep connecting and plugging in with No Kid Hungry and ask for help. And, I'll be excited to answer any questions that anyone has.
So thank you so much, Michaela. These truly have been great sessions. And so here on this slide, we have a QR code that will direct you to more resources from Shanae and Michaela, which includes menus, meal prep instructions, cost analyses, and daily food production tasks. Everything that you heard today will have in this QR code. Next slide, please. And so now we'll get into the Q&A session with our speakers. Shanae, I've seen that you have answered most of the questions, but the top question that I have seen is, what is the chicken on the beach? Can you explain a little bit more about it?
I think it's an Indiana thing. Sorry. So at Mexican restaurants, like, all the kids always order chicken on the beach. So it's just like a Mexican or Spanish rice. And then we top it with a shredded white meat chicken with like some seasonings in it, and then you put queso cheese over it. So it's one of the kids' favorite. I would call it one of our semi-scratch or partially scratch items because we're using pre-bought items, making them, adding some seasonings, and then serving it together. So Yeah, it's just rice, chicken, and cheese. And it's not too overly flavorful, which kids kind of like. I don't mean that, but it's good for the kids' palate. So it's not too much for them.
That sounds delicious. That might be a dinner suggestion to
We
me.
also do a chicken fajita on the beach, like in the high schools where we put the flame roasted peppers and onions, but the younger kids don't typically like that. So they just get chicken on the beach.
Love it. So this question is for Michaela. What was the reasoning behind soliciting bids from your local grocery businesses, and was there added value compared to traditional food service distributors?
Yes, I think so because remember Shanae mentioned in her talk how the first year when they were repackaging the French toast sticks and they had spent all this time like, oh, we got to get it in a pack size that works. So remember, like what I was wanting to give them was to be, it wasn't individual meals, like this was a bulk menu for the week, right? So when you try to find the items packed in the right pack size for you, a traditional grocery distributor is not it. And even if they were, like the items you want are not on your bid. So you're gonna have to bid it anyway. The way that relationship was born is I don't mind telling you, us dietitians, well, we just love our vegetables. And I knew even though we were going to be packing up these boxes and delivering them in the June and July heat down here in South Carolina, I just knew that we were going to be able to put some broccoli in those boxes in 2024. And we did, but it didn't go well. But I had to have a dark green vegetable, right? So then the next week we tried like a leafy green, even worse, green slime all over everything. So that was a no go. In total desperation, I pulled my Buzz truck up into the Galaxy parking lot and I was like, sir, I have got to have a green vegetable. And it's like the little cans, right? That's what I was after. Like maybe there's a little can that I can just put in these boxes to make sure that I'm meeting this vegetable subgroup requirement. And he was just Johnny on the spot. He loaded a pallet of greens into my Buzz truck and I was off to the races. We got all the other stuff worked out later. And when I posted that on social media, the community went absolutely nuts. It like they just loved because they were aware. I mean, obviously they were getting the boxes, like they knew that the broccoli and the greens weren't working. And so when we posted like, hey, this, we're Galaxy's helping us solve this problem. We can't wait for you to see our upgrade for week 3. It was our most interacted with, most reacted, most commented on post about the entire summer program. I think the community liked to see that we were working within the community. And the fellow that manages it is a Union County High School graduate. And so everybody knew him and they were just sharing it all over the place. So that really, and then when I came to No Kid Hungry and heard about a gal, she runs a YMCA in the middle of nowhere in Missouri. And this is what she did. She's not a food service director. She didn't have a distributorship to work with. She had hungry kids at the Y and a grocery store, and she figured out how to get it done. And I mean, I just respect that. I feel like we can learn from anybody. And when I heard her describe her program paired with my experience the previous summer, it was like the light bulb just, I just knew that our community would really love that. And I'd say our bet worked out. I hope that helps. I hope I didn't get too far off, but that's
That's so amazing. I want to thank you both for the amazing answers. We'll share out the presentation. So for those questions that did not get answered, you'll have more resources available. And with time allowed, I'll thank you both for sharing your amazing resources. And I will now turn it back over to Kelly.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much. We are just going to wrap up briefly here. I think previous slide. Oh, yes. Actually, one more back. They flash quickly before my eyes. Yes, that's the one. Thank you so much. Just want to give a quick shout out here. We have a monthly summer specific newsletter from No Kid Hungry called the Summertime Snack. It is an amazing way to keep up with our upcoming webinars, new and updated resources, other tools and happenings. If you all are not subscribed to that or are not sure if you're subscribed to that, I'm going to drop the link in the chat right now. Also available via that QR code. I promise we will not overflow your inboxes. Again, that is a once a month newsletter and occasionally other emails if we are promoting an upcoming webinar. Next slide, please. Also wanted to give you a heads up that when this webinar concludes today, automatically in the same window that you have open on your computer right now, a survey is going to open. It is a very simple, short, and sweet feedback survey, and I assure you all that we truly review every response that comes into that. So please let us know your feedback on this webinar, what worked well for you, where you saw opportunity for improvement, what you would like us to offer in the future. We want to make sure that we are putting out things that are of interest to you and are helpful to you. And you can help us take the guesswork out of that by letting us know what you think. So please, before you run off to the next thing that I know we all have to do after this webinar, please take a few minutes to complete that survey for us. Next slide, please. Also taking an opportunity here to uplift some of the resources that we have available from No Kid Hungry. So first, I would say broadly, hopefully you are familiar with this, but in case you are not, we have an entire website dedicated to resources, tools, webinars, and other information. That is our Center for Best Practices website, which is linked here. We have tons, and I think that is a literal estimate. We have tons of resources to help you with your summer meals programs. And then also on the topic specifically that we reviewed together today, I am dropping a link into the chat now for a resource that we have on multi-day menu planning, considerations for rural and non-congregate summer service. And that brings us to, I believe, our last slide. Wonderful, which is the last slide, which is thank you. I wanted to share on behalf of everyone at No Kid Hungry and really echoing so many of the chats that I've seen come in already as well. Just a tremendous thank you to Shanae and Michaela for sharing your experiences with us, sharing your expertise, and of course for your commitment to feeding kids in your communities. It genuinely was a pleasure to hear from you and learn from you. And thank you so much for sharing your time and your knowledge with us. And of course, a big thank you for all of you who tuned into this webinar. I hope that you're walking away with at least one idea that you can apply to your program or to share with someone else who operates a program. With that, closing with the reminder that you will get a follow-up email from us by the end of the week. That will include this webinar slide deck, recording, as well as, again, some of the links to resources that we shared here today so that you have everything captured in one place. I'm going to give you all like a 30-second heads up before we close this webinar because I see some contact info being shared in the chat there, which is going to go away in a moment. So with that, again, just a huge thank you to our speakers. Thank you to all of you. And wishing you all the best as we approach summer 2026. Here's to so many kids across the country getting the summer meals and nutrition that they need. Thank you all, and that is the end of the webinar.